This video is over 4 years in the making, and in particular 4 years, 5 months and 19 days since the very first time that I began the journey towards making this video. And so today we're going to find out if 4.5 years worth of waiting was worth it in Rise of Kingdoms for this one specific thing. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I'm a sponsored partnered creator with Rise of Kingdoms, so if you want more raw content, consider subscribing down below. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right in here. And before we get into what has taken 4.5 years to accomplish on my account, I do want to show you guys one more thing. Check this thing out. We got the Horn of the North with the straight to the point special inscription, 3.5% boost to normal damage dealt, and whenever their troop launches a basic attack, you have a 10% chance to gain a 20% bonus to normal damage dealt, but a 10% reduction to skill damage dealt for 3 seconds. This is a special inscription that I got from none other than the State Forum. I believe it was actually a travel chance, and of course it was my wish listed armament here for the Arch formation. I was, I think, 8 out of 10 for my wish list before I actually got my hands on the legendary, or I should say special inscription here. And the only reason that I was going for this was because by the time the pincer formation came out, I was already like halfway through my pity here, so I figured I would just keep it going, and we finally got a special inscription here. Of course, the idea was that I would get this and then we would actually just move it over to the pincer formation, because that would get me Demolisher, which gives me a 75% chance to ignore 50% of the target's defense. But with the announcement that new formations are coming over the next 6 or 7 months, maybe I'll just save these 10 conversion stones, because I don't want to convert it to pincer and then have it converted again. That is just a massive waste of these conversion stones. So I don't know, I'm in a weird spot right now, because like, man, it sure would be awful if they just make a better formation than pincer in just a few months. Like, I don't know, but it also sucks to just have this sitting here doing nothing. So I'm just transmuting it and hoping that I get something good. I mean, it's not even like great stats for infantry yet anyway, so there's no rush. It's not like I can use it immediately anyway. So just wanted to share that small W with you guys. If you want good luck with your next travel attempts, you have to drop a thumbs up down below. Okay, enough stalling. What exactly took 4.5 years to accomplish on my Rise of Kingdoms account? Well, that is none other than Ragnar. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Here it is. Ragnar Lodbrok. I finally have the expertise on Ragnar Lodbrok after 4 years, 5 months and 19 days. You can see that we recruited Ragnar Lodbrok from the, I think it was either the gold keys or maybe there was an event for him back when he first came into the game, but this was May 26th 2021, and I didn't get the expertise for Ragnar until just the other day, November 13th 2025. How is that possible? Well, here you can see I obtained 690 legendary commander sculptures for Ragnar Lodbrok without using a single universal legendary commander sculpture on him, and I didn't buy the daily special offer whatsoever, at least not for Ragnar. Every single one of these sculptures came from the gold chest in the tavern. So if you guys are a brand new player to Rise of Kingdoms, or you're a free-to-play player, or whatever the case might be, and you're wondering how long does it take to actually expertise a legendary commander 100% free to play from the tavern alone, your answer is over 4 years. Now, of course, the time is going to vary, because back in the day there were actually fewer commanders in the gold chest. Now, when the game first came out, a lot of you guys probably don't even remember this, but Mehmed wasn't even in the gold keys at that point. Mulan was not there, Ragnar was not there, Thutmose, Pyrrhus, Siege, and then of course the 2 new ones, Casimir and Pepin. None of these commanders were there. We also didn't have Ashita, we also didn't have Sunduk. We did, however, in the first 50 kingdoms had Richard I and Seong-Gye in the gold chest here. So gold chests have changed quite dramatically over the years, and with more legendary commanders in the gold keys, the probability of getting any single legendary commander here is actually diminished. So the reason that I bring this up is because over the years it's actually gotten harder and harder to get your hands on Ragnar, at least from my experience, because we've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new legendaries since his implementation. Okay, now I know the drop rate for all these commanders is not equal. I don't think it's ever revealed anywhere, but it's pretty conclusive. If you open like 1,000 gold keys or even more than that, you'll notice that you're going to get a lot more of the gatherers than you will the other commanders. If there is an actual variable drop chance for the rest of the commanders, I have no idea. But if we compare the amount of time that it took me to get Ragnar to the amount of time it took me to get Mehmed II expertise, we will see that Mehmed took me 4 years, 1 month and 19 days. Okay, now if we scroll down here, you're not going to see the development cost because I got him so long ago that actually it was before they even started tracking that sort of thing. So yeah, I've been playing Rise of Kingdoms for quite a long time. And if we compare that to my Julius Caesar, you will see that I expertised him 100% from the gold keys on July 29th 2023. So that is 4 years, 8 months and 7 days in between the recruit date and the expertise date. Okay, and I can guarantee you I did not use any universals on him, or at least I don't remember using any. Maybe I used 1 or 2 just to grab a skill, but I genuinely don't think that I did. But my point is here that if you're going to get a legendary commander completely expertised using the tavern and the gold keys, you are going to wait at least 4 years unless you are insanely lucky with those commanders. So really, I would not bank on it, right? I mean, unless you're going to be buying the daily special offer or you're going to be pumping universals into these commanders, which I do not recommend that you do, it's going to take you a really long time to expertise these legendaries. So then the question becomes like, okay, well, is it worth it, right? And I think that, you know, if you guys have been around the block for any amount of time, you know that the answer is no, right? The answer is absolutely not. Ragnar is not a commander that is viable in the end game. But then I started to think like, okay, well, let's just think about this for a second logically. Okay, it took 4.5 years to get here, so let's actually just think about like, what could we possibly do with Ragnar Lodbrok in Rise of Kingdoms in the year 2025? Okay, well, let's quickly review what actually does he even do. I feel like most of you guys probably don't even remember because he's just a completely forgotten commander that nobody even thinks about. His expertise actually bumps up the active skill, and it says this commander's troop deals 40% more damage and takes 20% less damage for 5 seconds. The power of the king, the power of the king. If this is the power, then it's not that powerful. Okay, so 1000 rage requirement, of course, and ultimately this is a super strong buff for any army, right? I mean, any army would love to have 40% all damage and 20% less damage taken reduction for 5 seconds. That's one of the longest buffs in the game. The problem is that it doesn't deal any damage and it's only for your one singular army. It does not buff anybody else near you, and so the value of this skill is limited to just your one singular army, right? And when Ragnar himself is not dealing any skill damage, smite damage, combo damage or anything, a 40% bonus to his damage is like kind of almost wasted, right? His second skill gives you 20% universal troop attack, and whenever you launch a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to reduce the target's healing received by 40% for 3 seconds with a 5-second cooldown. That is not worth it unless you're going to be targeting the latest commander in the game, Gangnam Chan, but really even that is like, it's just a minor thing. You don't really care that much that like you're nerfing their healing. The third skill deals 10% more damage when attacking a city. Okay, the fourth skill 10% troop capacity and 10% rally capacity, and that's really it. Now we can also take a look at the museum here because he does actually have a relic. I don't even think I have it unlocked because it did not seem worth it to me, but we can see here that at maximum tier we have 35% troop defense and 20% normal damage taken reduction. Okay, so now what we can see is that we do have a total of 55% of troop stats, which is pretty much on par with the end game commanders, right? If we look at commanders like the latest commanders in the game, we look at Gangnam Chan, we look at Achilles, right? You'll notice that these commanders do have at least 50% of stats. Some commanders have more than that. If we look at commanders like Hua, we have 40% attack and 35% defense, right? So Hua actually has an insane amount of stats. If we look at Emperor Qin, who is the best commander in the game right now, he also has 50% of stats, 30% defense, 20% health. Okay, so the main advantage to Ragnar is that he has stats for any troop type. He's a leadership commander. You can put him anywhere and give those stats to whoever you actually want, and realistically 20% normal damage taken reduction is better now than it kind of has ever been, because this reduces the smite damage that you take and it reduces the combo damage that you take, which is a big deal right now considering the fact that we've got so many new combo commanders in the game. We also have so many smite commanders in the game, and we're going to be getting more in just a couple of months. I think in January we're expecting the new infantry commanders. Okay, and those are probably going going to be smite commanders. All right, so okay, let's really think about this for just a moment. If we have 20% normal damage taken reduction, we have 35% defense, so that's kind of tanky, right? And we also have 20% all damage taken reduction for 5 seconds. So we do have a commander here that is actually pretty tanky, if we're being honest. The problem is that he doesn't really do much else. He just gives your one singular army 40% all damage, and you're just hoping that whoever he's paired with can benefit from the 40% all damage buff and the 10% unit capacity, which is more troops, which equals more damage. Really, if we're being honest with ourselves, there's only one commander pairing in the entire game that you could arguably use Ragnar with in 2025 in the end game, and that is obviously Emperor Qin, right? And this is simply because Emperor Qin himself is just so broken. He is super powerful, and what I would do if I were to run this specific pairing here is I would put my talent build as something like this, where you actually get 5 points in feral nature, 3 points in razor sharp, and you might even need a horn of fury here. I haven't done the math on this in quite a long time, but really you want as much rage as possible, and then you put the rest of your points 4 into venomous sting, so you deal more skill damage. That is absolutely critical here. And then the rest of your points you actually put in the march speed over here in the versatility tree, which I know is a joke. You're literally throwing 3 of these points in the garbage, but you don't have any march speed on Ragnar at all, so this commander is going to be pretty tanky but also pretty slow. Okay, so keep that in mind. And what we're going to be doing with this build here is, if you read through Emperor Qin's skills, I'm not going to go over all of them right now. I've done dedicated guides for him, and all these skills are super long, but basically the deal is with Emperor Qin, he is consuming his own rage, converting his basic attacks into small skill damage, and it's AoE. Okay, so he's just chipping away at everybody around him. He also has a lot of tankiness here. He also has some march speed, which is nice. You're going to need that a lot. But the point is, in a massive murder ball fight with Emperor Qin and Ragnar, the way that we have this built with the talents and also with having a horn of fury here, you are going to be generating enough rage to cast your active skill every 5-6 seconds, basically. Unless you're like really struggling to stay in a combat, you're going to keep your active skill going every 5 or 6 seconds. And what that means is your Ragnar, as the secondary commander, is going to be casting his active skill every 5 or 6 seconds, which means your Emperor Qin is always going to have a 40% all damage. He's always going to take 20% less damage, and you're also giving your Emperor Qin 10% more troops, 20% more attack, 35% defense, and you're taking 20% less normal damage across the board, assuming you actually have all 3 upgrades here for your museum. Okay, so this would be, in my opinion, okay, if you forced me to make Ragnar as usable as possible in 2025, this is what I would tell you to do. And realistically, you know, is it going to perform super well? No. Is it going to perform horribly? Honestly, probably not, strictly because Emperor Qin is going to do all of the heavy lifting. You see this time and time again. Now obviously this is not going to be as good as something like, if we look at Seong-Gye, for example, he gives you like 62% skill damage, which is basically all damage for Emperor Qin, right? And he also has an AoE in his active skill, and he also has archer defense. So it's like, really, there's no point to do this when Seong-Gye exists. It would just be better. Now of course Ragnar is a little bit more tanky than Seong-Gye objectively, right? But like, it's just not worth the damage trade-off, obviously, right? Obviously it's not worth it, in my opinion. If you wanted a talent build for Ragnar specifically, then you really only have 1 or 2 options. Okay, realistically, if you're going to be using him multi-troop type, then I don't even know what to tell you, right? Like open field leadership right now, especially with Ragnar primary, I don't think that's a thing. But I would grab 3 points in effortless, not because it's good, but because you don't really have any other choice. I would put 3 points in fight to the death. I would put 3 points into martial mastery. I would put 3 points into unyielding, and then for the leadership tree I would just put 4 points into close formation and 4 points into strategic prowess, and that should get you all of your points. That would be everything that you could possibly invest in. You would be out of points at that point. Of course, if you are going to use a mixed troop type, then you could remove points from something like close formation or effortless. I would keep these 2, by the way, because this is march speed. You're going to need that, but you could remove these 3 and you could throw them into something like arm to the teeth. Maybe you can remove unyielding and put those into armor to the teeth, and then actually keep the close formation here. That's what I would do if I was going to do a mixed army, but again, that's probably not going to be you. And if you are doing a single troop type, then why are you using Ragnar as primary anyway? But guys, I just wanted to take this time to reflect on finally expertising Ragnar Lodbrok in Rise of Kingdoms, because 4 years 5 months is an insane amount of time. 4.5 years ago I had like maybe 30,000 subscribers. We were in the middle of summertime when I got Ragnar Ragnar, the world had seemingly just gotten out of its first winter of lockdown. Like, the world was completely different in May of 2021, not just for me, but like the actual world. Things were completely different back then. And so it's just crazy to think about how much time has actually passed since I first got this commander. If you had entered high school the same day that I got Ragnar Lodbrok, you would be in college already, right? Like, that is just, it's an insane the amount of time that it takes to expertise one of these commanders completely through gold keys alone. So I just wanted to reflect on that, talk a little bit about what I would actually do to use him in 2025 if I wanted to, and share with you guys a couple of talent builds. But guys, if you made it to the end of this video, consider dropping a thumbs up on it. It really helps out the channel a ton. I know this video was a little bit different than most of my normal content. Comment down below your thoughts on this. Do you think that this is way too long for a relatively weak legendary? Like, do you think they should speed this up? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time that I upload a Rise of Kingdoms video. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace. Rise of Kingdoms is implementing new commanders, a new civilization, a new game mode, and more, and today we're going to be talking about it. So I'm sure you guys have seen these images that were posted by the official Rise of Kingdoms social media accounts. We see 2 new commanders coming to the game, and we also have this post which talks about a ton of new stuff that we're going to unpack here in this video. But guys, I want to encourage you to subscribe and click that bell, because